I'm Hazel. It's Saturday today, which makes it time to sit down and catch up on the WoW news of the week, what I have been up to, and answer some of your questions. This week, patch 10.1 was announced, and we actually did kind of a midweek news video already covering like the big beats of the patch announcement. That video I will link in the description. In this one, I want to cover the images of the tier sets and the new Dragonriding Drakes that I did not have available when I made the last one. And then I want to spend some time today talking about the new upgrade system that is coming in 10.1 for gear, because it is a certifiable doozy. First of all, pretty things. Let's take a look at some tier sets. So in patch 10.1, this is some examples of the type of gear you might be getting as your tier set. From left to right, these are the sets for Hunter, Monk, Demon Hunter, and Evoker. This next batch, left to right, is Druid, Warrior, and Shaman. Worth noting that the difficulties from these various sets may be mixed and matched a little bit. It's definitely not all heroic. Some of these will have the mythic tints on them, so if some look very fancy, that may be why. Our next slide here has the Mage, Rogue, and Warlock sets on it. And then finally, the one that I think has caused the most stir. From left to right, we have Death Knight, Priest, and Paladin. This Priest set has inspired a lot of feelings among players. The top two that I've been able to tell have been awe and jealousy. I think that all of the sets are definitely more heavily themed to the class than the actual tier this time around, which is fine by me. I know I'm an Evoker main now, and I like the Evoker set, but that Priest set is doing work. The other thing that we have a good look at now is the new Dragonriding Drake that is coming in 10.1. We will be able to unlock a 5th Dragonriding Mount. These are the screenshots that Blizzard posted as examples of different ways that you can customize it. It is called the Winding Slither Drake, and I am particularly partial to the throat ponytails that are going on with this one. So with that done, let's talk about this new item upgrade system that Blizzard has announced for 10.1 in Season 2 of Dragonflight. They put out a big blog post to explain it. It is quite long. It is worth the full read, although I will caution you that I personally feel like the post makes the system sound more complicated than I think it actually will be. Time will tell. Maybe it is just like super complicated, but I think that it's going to feel better once you actually have it in front of you in-game, as opposed to trying to pull all of it off of this very thoroughly explained post. It feels like they wanted to be very careful when explaining it, to kind of cover all of the different things that could go wrong with it, basically. It's like a system that's supposed to be easy to use, but then they've explained thoroughly all of the different like stipulations and fine print that are involved that are just kind of there to prevent it from being cheesed. At least that's my impression. I could be off base. The basics of it, if I were to try to short it up into a smaller frame, is that in Season 2, you will be able to upgrade more types of gear. So currently, you can upgrade Mythic Plus gear, and then you can upgrade PvP gear. It's worth noting right now that PvP gear has nothing to do with this new upgrade system. They said in the FAQ that they're happy with PvP gear as it is. They're not going to mess with it. That is not involved for now. So with PvP gear set aside, currently you can upgrade your Mythic Plus gear using Valor points that you get in Mythic Plus. With this new system, you would be able to upgrade your Mythic Plus gear, but also your raid gear and outdoor gear as well. We do currently have a Primal Storms outdoor gearing upgrade system, and that's also being replaced by this. Primal Storms and Valor stuff being replaced by the new system. So it is a new system, but it's eating a couple of older ones. You don't have to juggle all of them at once. Instead of Valor points, you're going to get a currency called Flightstones, and you're going to get it from more places than you get Valor. So you will get it from Mythic Plus, but you'll also get it from outdoor stuff and from raids. You're going to spend that at upgrade NPCs to upgrade your gear. Once you start getting your upgrades into higher item levels, you will also need an item called a crest, and you will get better crests from harder content. How far you can upgrade an item will depend on the item level it started at. There's a couple of different like tiers of upgrade path. So you can get a very basic piece of World Quest gear and upgrade it quite a few times with Flightstones, but you're never going to be able to upgrade it to be like a heroic raid level piece of gear because it started on a lower upgrade path. There's a table that was part of this blog post that lays all of those item level brackets out in exquisite detail that is a good look if you like numbers. One thing that is nice is that once you have a soulbound item in a slot, any item upgrades below the item level of your thing are discounted. They're cheaper, not just for that character, but for your alts as well. So if you get a whole set of pretty nice gear in your main, your alts will have cheaper costs of Flightstones in order to upgrade their own gear. So there's alt catch-up built in from the start. It will be cheaper and faster to get your alts caught up to your main's item level. They will still need the crest if you want them to get caught up all the way up to your main's item level. They will still need the crest from the relevant type of content for the higher gear upgrade levels, but for the lower brackets, you can do it with just Flightstones. It's a lot of details, but the upgrade path that your item has and what kind of crest and how many Flightstones that you need in order to upgrade it is going to be on the tooltip. So you'll be able to look at your thing in game and see what you need to upgrade it and see how far it is on the upgrade path, which is what makes me say this is going to make more sense once we're actually playing. It's very overwhelming to look at the entire table, but in practice in the game, it should feel a little bit less overwhelming. One thing that this change does kind of kill is the current practice of farming low-level Mythic Plus dungeons for an item, such as like an auto-attack ring or particular trinket, with the intent of upgrading it 13 times to get all the way up to a maximum and relevant item level. With this current system, because the upgrade path is determined by how good the thing was to begin with, you're not going to be able to do that anymore. If you get a really low item level ring from a Mythic Plus 2, there's only so far you can upgrade that with Flightstones. If you want the best of the best one, which in this case would be, it looks like 441, you would need to start with a piece that is item level 428 or better. Whether or not that's a good change or a bad change depends on how you felt about the practice of really geared players spamming dungeons that were well below their skill level with the intent of trying to get that one piece of gear that they needed. Some people like being able to do that, and some people do not like having to do that, and that's just kind of a where you're sitting sort of thing. They mentioned in the post that they are trying this out for Dragonflight Season 2, and they're going to work from there based on how it goes. So they're encouraging people to give it a chance, play it in Season 2, and then give feedback once we have it in our hands. This is something they can evolve, adapt, give up on, continue with, depending on how it goes. Once again, it does not apply to PvP gear, and it also, for the most part, does not apply to crafted gear for Season 2. Kind of. There is some text in this post about using crests in gear crafting, but not recrafting that I will admit to not fully understanding. I'm just trusting that's going to make sense when I see it. And then a question I wanted to include here. Scott wanted to know, do you think that Blizz overcomplicated things just to have their here's what's new and different about this expansion feature that ends up being binned for the next expansion? And do you think they should try and fix it and keep it around, or let it die off and go back to normal crafting? This is in regards to whether or not crafted gear is too complicated. I included this question because I feel like this could also apply to this new item upgrade system. Basically, is it too complicated and should they give up and go back to something simpler? Or should they try to fix it, basically? What I would say here is that crafting is complicated, more complicated in Dragonflight than I feel that it has ever been in my memory of playing WoW. I started late Wrath, but it's also relevant for gear for the first time in my memory of playing WoW. I have cleared the Heroic Raid. I'm pretty much finished my season of my character. I'm item level 415-ish. And like a third of my pieces of gear are crafted, and that's never something that's happened before outside of like, you know, having a crafter make a base item for a Shadowlands legendary. They've talked a big game about making crafted gear relevant in endgame content for multiple expansions now, and to my memory, this is the only time that they've actually done it. I also think that the knowledge system made gold making from professions interesting and engaging for the first time that it's ever been. I've, made potions and sold them before, but it's always been so hard to find a niche where you can actually make gold, even back when servers were not connected the way they are now, because it was relatively accessible for people to get into endgame crafting. And I'm not saying making it less accessible is like a good thing, but it does mean that if you're willing to learn the system and engage with it and progress in it, you can get advantages that are unique to you that kind of reward you for putting that work in. And that's gameplay that wasn't available before that I've really enjoyed in Dragonflight. I think there's a trade-off between complexity and the satisfaction you get from mastering that complexity, and that throwing the whole thing out because it's too complicated is a solution, but I think it gives up on some of that satisfaction and depth that it's one of the reasons I'm playing games in the first place, as opposed to just like counting ceiling tiles or chopping vegetables. I know that both of these systems are a lot, and I've been personally very overwhelmed at first with a lot of different aspects of Dragonflight, and there's some parts of it that I still don't feel like I've really taken the time to get to grips with. But I don't think they're making things complicated for the sake of making them complicated. I think they're trying to give you things to do that continue to feel worth doing without making you feel like you have to do them, and protecting against all the various ways that gamers tend to find to exploit systems in unintended ways. And that's how you end up with like these pages and pages of fine print and stipulations, is because the goal is very noble. And I think that they're doing a fair job at getting there. But one of the side effects is all of the perceived or real complications of it. And that's what I've got to say for today. If you have a question for me, please leave it in the comments of the most recent news video and include the word question to help me find it. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.